Do you want to overcome fear? Then you must first understand what fear really is. It is not just an emotion. It is not just a reaction. It is a force, a paralyzing, invisible force that disguises itself as logic, caution, and even wisdom. But deep down, fear is the enemy of action, the assassin of dreams, and the silent voice that whispers, "You are not enough." In my years of studying success, I discovered that the most powerful men and women of history were not those without fear, but those who refused to be guided by it. Fear will dress itself in the language of protection, but it is not protecting you. It's limiting you. And until you confront it, not run from it, not hide it, but face it head-on, it will remain your master. You see, fear has a favorite target, your mind. And that is precisely where it builds its prison. Not in your job, not in your relationships, not in your finances, but in your thoughts. And this prison is self-made. You build it every time you say, "I can't." Every time you say, "It's not for me." Every time you avoid a risk just to feel safe. But safe from what? From living? From failing? From discovering who you could be? Let me tell you a truth few dare to accept. Fear is not your enemy because it shows up. Fear is your enemy because you obey it. And when you obey fear, you deny your purpose. That's why I said fear is the tool of a man-made devil. You were not created to bow down to imaginary chains. You were born to lead, to grow, to rise above the illusions your mind creates. But how? It begins with awareness. The moment you become aware that fear is not fact, but a suggestion, you regain your power. Fear is persuasive, but it is not permanent. It will knock at your door every morning, but you don't have to invite it in. The great secret is not to wait for fear to disappear. It won't. The secret is to act, even when it's present. And now I ask you, what is fear stopping you from doing right now? What conversation? What decision? What dream? Because I promise you, what's on the other side of fear is not danger. It's your destiny. Now that you understand the invisible prison that fear builds in your mind, let's go deeper. Let's uncover how fear became your default response. You see, no child is born afraid. A child reaches out, falls, gets up, touches fire, learns. Fear is not inherited, it is installed. By parents who projected their doubts, by teachers who discouraged your spark, by society that conditioned you to conform, to play small, to stay quiet. Fear is a program, not your personality. And the moment you realize that, you can rewrite it. When I speak of fear, I am not just referring to the fear of failure or danger. I am talking about the subtle, daily fears that shape your choices without you noticing. The fear of judgment, the fear of rejection, the fear of being seen as too much or not enough. These are the fears that build your invisible cage, and they are the ones you must break. One of the most dangerous lies fear tells you is, if you stay small, you'll stay safe. But listen closely. Comfort zones are not safe zones. They are decay zones. Every time you let fear shrink your potential, you shrink your life. You settle, you survive, but you never truly live. Fear convinces you to trade your destiny for predictability, and that is the greatest tragedy of all. But here's the truth that will set you free. Fear loses its grip when you start telling yourself a new story. When you replace "what if I fail" with "what if I fly." When you stop asking "what if they laugh at me" and start declaring "what if they learn from me." Your internal narrative determines your external reality. Speak like a victor, and fear begins to retreat. And I want you to remember this. Fear thrives in isolation. When you suffer in silence, it multiplies. But when you speak it out, when you bring it into the light, it loses its mystery. So share your fears, name them, write them down, and then write the opposite. If you fear being alone, write, "I am deeply connected." If you fear failure, write, "I learn quickly and rise stronger." Rewire the story and you rewire your mind. If this is speaking to your soul right now, pause this video for just 5 seconds, hit that subscribe button, and activate the X inside you. This journey is just beginning, and I want you with me until the end. Now, are you ready for the next shift? Because in the next chapter, I will show you exactly how fear tricks your nervous system and how to reclaim your power through a simple 3-step technique.
Fear is not just a thought, it's a physical reaction, a chemical storm in your body. When fear enters, your brain floods with cortisol, adrenaline. Your heart races, your breathing shortens, your body tightens. You call it anxiety, but it's simply your system preparing for battle. The problem? There is no battle. There's just a phone call you don't want to make, a risk you're afraid to take, a version of yourself you're not yet brave enough to become. Let me reveal something. Your brain can't tell the difference between a real threat and an imagined one. If you visualize failure, your body responds as if it already happened. If you dwell on rejection, you start to fear people who haven't even rejected you. The enemy is not the event, it's the rehearsal of the worst-case scenario. Fear wins because you rehearse defeat better than you rehearse victory. But you can reverse this right now with a simple 3-step method I call Override the Lie. It's how I trained my mind and how you can train yours. Step 1. Name the fear. Say it out loud. I am afraid of going broke. I'm afraid of failing in front of my family. When you name it, you strip it of power. Vague fear is powerful. Specific fear is beatable. Step 2. Interrupt the pattern. When fear arises, do something physical. Clap your hands, change your posture, stand up. Movement breaks the loop. It's like slamming the brakes on a runaway train. Step 3. Install the truth. Speak a new phrase. I am resourceful, resilient, and rising. I may be afraid, but I am acting anyway. The key is repetition. The brain changes by repetition, not by inspiration. You must repeat until it becomes who you are. Now pause and reflect. Which fear has been speaking the loudest in your mind this week? Is it the fear of lack, the fear of judgment, or the fear of being seen? Write it down, circle it, and now write its opposite. That's your new affirmation. That's your new identity. Let me give you a phrase that changed my life. Key: I am not my fear. I am the one who observes it. Say that again and again until it becomes your baseline. And before we move forward, let me ask, who do you know that's trapped by fear right now? Send this video to them. Be the spark that sets them free. Don't keep this to yourself, because transformation multiplies when it's shared. In the next chapter, we'll uncover why most people stay stuck even after doing the inner work, and how a secret mind movie can rewire your future faster than anything else you've tried. Fear is not always loud. It doesn't always roar or shout or come crashing down like thunder. Sometimes, fear is the softest whisper in the back of your mind. The voice that says, what if you fail? What if they laugh at you? What if you're not enough? And in those whispers, the real battle begins. Not in the outside world, but within you. Fear's greatest trick is not making you run. It's convincing you to stand still. Let me be clear, fear thrives in delay. Every time you hesitate, every time you say, maybe tomorrow, every time you wait for the perfect time, the perfect conditions, the perfect version of you, that is fear winning. And here's the truth, the perfect time never comes. What you have right now, this moment, this breath, this choice, is all you need to begin. Fear waits in the hope that you won't. Now hear me, what you're really afraid of isn't the thing itself. It's the meaning you've attached to it. You're not afraid of failing. You're afraid that failure means you're worthless. You're not afraid of being alone. You're afraid that being alone means you are unlovable. You're not afraid of starting. You're afraid that starting will expose that you're not as good as they think. But these are lies, crafted by fear, rehearsed by the mind, and repeated by society. Lies that Napoleon Hill himself warned us about. Hill once said, "Fear is the tool of a man-made devil." What did he mean? That fear is constructed, fed by thoughts, beliefs, stories we've swallowed for years. And like any story, it can be rewritten. But to do that, you must become conscious. You must observe the voice without obeying it. You must name your fear out loud. Because when you name it, you reclaim your power. So, I ask you now, what is the name of your fear? Say it, write it down, look it in the eye. And then remember this: your fear is a lie, told by a mind trying to protect you from a pain that doesn't even exist yet. Every fear we experience, no matter how it appears on the surface, can be traced back to one fundamental illusion: the belief that we are separate from our source, that we are alone in our challenges, that we must face this world unaided, unsupported, and unseen. But let me be absolutely clear: this is a lie, and it is the root that nourishes every branch of fear in your life. You fear losing money? At the root, it's not about paper bills or numbers on a screen. It's about the false belief that if you lose that money, you lose your security, that the universe will stop providing, that you'll be left without. But I tell you now, the source that created you has never once stopped flowing. What stopped was your belief in the flow. You tightened, you closed, you feared. And in doing so, you blocked the very abundance that was already trying to reach you. You fear rejection, failure, being judged. You fear not being good enough. These are not fears of the world. They are misunderstandings within your own spirit. You forgot who you are. You forgot what you're connected to. When a tree reaches for the sky, it does not question whether it is worthy of sunlight. It does not compare itself to the tree beside it. It simply grows, because growth is natural, because receiving is natural. Fear is what makes it feel unnatural. Now listen to me carefully. Fear is not a warning from the divine. It is a call to return, a signal that you've become disconnected from the truth of your being. You are not your bank account. You are not your reputation. You are not your results. You are a soul with infinite potential, guided by a power far greater than your current understanding. And the moment you remember that, really remember, fear begins to dissolve like morning mist under the rising sun. So, the next time fear grips your heart, I want you to ask yourself, what lie am I believing right now? Is it that you're not capable? That you're not worthy? That it won't work? Whatever it is, trace it back to the root. Because only when you pull a weed from the root does it stop growing back. And once you do that, you don't just manage fear, you outgrow it. I want to introduce you now to a practice that most overlook, yet it holds the power to rewrite the very code of your fear. It is not glamorous, it is not loud, it is not shared on stages or in shiny social media posts. It is repetition. The conscious, committed repetition of truth until fear no longer recognizes itself in your thoughts. You see, fear thrives in a chaotic mind, a mind that entertains every passing thought like it were a guest with something important to say. But most thoughts are just echoes, leftovers from childhood trauma, cultural programming, or a single moment of shame you never fully processed. And these echoes repeat themselves until they feel like your identity, but they are not. So how do you dismantle this internal echo chamber of fear? You must replace the record, not just once, but every single day. Here's what I did, and what I urge you to do. Every morning, I would look at myself in the mirror and speak directly to my fear, not to deny it, but to confront it. You are not me. You are a program, and I am the one rewriting you. I repeated it until the conviction started to feel more real than the doubt. It didn't take a week, it didn't take a month, but it took daily fire, and that fire forged a new belief. I also repeated truth before sleep. I would write in my journal, I am guided, I am provided for, I am protected. And some nights I didn't feel it, but I wrote it anyway. Why? Because repetition isn't about feeling. It's about forging. Every word carved a new pathway in my mind, one that fear could no longer walk on. Let me ask you, what do you repeat to yourself every day without even realizing it? I can't. I'm not ready. What if it fails? These are affirmations too, but of your downfall. What if you replaced them with, I am becoming, I am held, I was made for this? Say it enough, and the echo changes. Fear cannot live in a mind that repeats truth louder than it repeats doubt. And you, my friend, are one repeated truth away from freedom.
Let us now explore something that is rarely discussed, yet it quietly shapes your every thought, your every hesitation, and your deepest fears. It is what I call the fear filter. Imagine your mind as a sacred gate. Every message, every voice, every image must pass through that gate to affect you. But here's the question: who is standing guard? Most people do not realize they've allowed fear itself to be the gatekeeper. They scroll through tragedy. They binge on worry. They soak in the fears of others like a sponge until the weight of it begins to feel normal. But it's not normal. It's toxic, and it's training your brain to expect the worst. Fear doesn't just come from within. It is fed from the outside, by the news you consume, the conversations you tolerate, and even the jokes you laugh at. Yes, even humor can plant seeds of limitation. That sarcastic friend who mocks your dreams, he's feeding your doubt. That music that glorifies loss, chaos, and pain, it's tuning your emotions to the wrong frequency. So what do? We change the filter. I once worked with a man who could not sleep without fear gnawing at his chest. He thought something was wrong with his mind. But when we looked at his habits, we saw a clear pattern. Every night before bed, he watched the same kind of content: violent, chaotic, hopeless. It was not his mind that was broken. It was his gatekeeper who had fallen asleep. When he changed what he consumed, the fear began to melt. You must become ruthless with what you allow into your consciousness. If it doesn't feed your vision, it feeds your fear, period. And let me tell you this, God's voice is often drowned by the volume of the world. If you want to hear the whispers of faith, you must lower the volume of fear. That means saying no. No to gossip, no to doubt, no to anything that normalizes anxiety. What you surround yourself with becomes what surrounds you emotionally. Guard your gates, my friend. Install a filter that lets truth in and keeps fear out. Because the person who controls what enters their mind controls what grows inside their soul.
There comes a moment in every journey where thinking must surrender to doing. That moment is where fear either dissolves or dominates. And I tell you this not as theory, but as eternal law. Fear cannot survive in the presence of courageous action. Think back to the most terrifying moments of your life. Perhaps you delayed a conversation, postponed a decision, avoided a leap you knew was necessary. In those moments, fear thrived. Because fear feeds on hesitation, it multiplies in stillness. But the moment you move, even trembling, even unsure, fear begins to shrink. Fear dies where action lives. I once met a woman who carried a deep fear of public speaking. Every time she imagined the stage, her heart raced, her hands shook, her thoughts scattered. She believed she needed more confidence, more preparation, more time. But what she truly needed was motion. On the day she finally stood up and spoke, her voice cracked, but she spoke. And that one act weakened a fear that had enslaved her for a decade. She didn't defeat fear in her mind, she defeated it with her body. That is the paradox of fear. It screams the loudest just before the breakthrough. It tells you to wait, to hide, to postpone your power. But every minute you delay, you reinforce its voice. You train your soul to obey your weakness. So let us flip the script. Do it scared. Make the call, send the message, record the video, walk into the room scared. Because confidence does not come before the action. It comes from the action. You earn your power through movement. Listen carefully. When you take action in the direction of your purpose, the universe moves with you. It meets you at your level of courage, even if your knees shake, even if your voice trembles. What matters is that you show up again and again. You want to overcome fear? Then starve it. Fear starves in momentum. Fear starves in persistence. Fear starves when you move before you feel ready. And if I may be bold, you will never feel ready. That's not weakness, that's your test. And the ones who pass are not the fearless, they are the faithful.
When all methods seem to fail, when logic collapses, when motivation dries up, and even your own voice begins to betray you, there remains only one force strong enough to silence fear permanently: faith. Faith is not blind. Faith is not foolish. Faith is not passive. Faith is the deliberate choice to believe in a power greater than your problem. It is the conscious act of trusting what cannot yet be seen. Fear screams, "What if?" Faith whispers, "Even if." I discovered this not in moments of success, but in the valley of despair. There was a night years ago where my plans had crumbled. My finances were broken. My influence was forgotten. And in the darkness of that hour, I had only one option left: surrender or believe. I chose to believe. I wrote these words in my journal that night. This pain is not punishment, it is preparation. And from that decision, from that seed of unshakable faith, my comeback began. You see, fear often disguises itself as reality. It tells you you're too late, too weak, too flawed. But reality is bendable to faith. What you expect with intensity, you invite with energy. The universe is not ignoring you. It is waiting for you to believe boldly enough to align with it. Let me say this clearly. Your future does not respond to fear. It responds to faith. Faith does not ask if the odds are in your favor. It declares that you are favored. So here is the challenge I lay before you. Plant the seed of faith, even if the soil of your life feels dry, even if you've been disappointed, even if you failed before. Faith is not proven by what you say when it's easy. It is proven by what you declare when nothing makes sense. And when fear returns, and it will, speak to it with confidence. You are not my master. My faith leads, not you. Let this be your final weapon. Fear can break your heart, but faith can resurrect your destiny. Now that you've walked through the layers of fear, the illusions, the beliefs, the habits, and the truths, you are standing on a new ground, a sacred ground, a place where fear no longer leads your decisions and no longer owns your voice. This, my friend, is the beginning of your legacy. It was never about just feeling better. It was never only about silencing anxiety or managing panic. This journey was about reclaiming your power, about transforming from a victim of fear into a creator of courage. Because here's what no one tells you. The moment you rise, others see it. The moment you overcome, your life becomes proof that fear doesn't win. You become a lighthouse for those still drowning. Let me be clear, this is not the end. This is your launching pad. So pause for a moment.
and breathe. Inhale, belief. Exhale, fear. Again, now speak this aloud. Fear may visit me, but it will never drive me. Say it again. Fear may visit me, but it will never drive me. You have tools now: mental reprogramming, morning declarations, awareness over emotion, and above all, you have faith in motion. Your life is no longer built on reaction. It is built on intention. Here is your final CTA. If this message spoke to your heart, I invite you now, join the movement, not just as a viewer, but as a builder of boldness. Share this video with someone you love, someone who hides their fear behind a smile. You could be the reason they reclaim their future. Comment below with the word free if you're committed to walking fearlessly from this moment on. The first 50 will receive a bonus audio guide recorded to help you anchor courage every single morning. And don't forget, hit subscribe and activate the X inside you. Because the world doesn't need more perfection. It needs more people with the courage to show up real, raw, and ready to live. And if you ever forget this moment, this truth, come back here, rewatch, re-remember, reignite. Fear loses when you decide to stop waiting. And now, it's your time.